It's interleague week in the DFL for week 8, so this should be pretty fun. There's not a ton of things that could shake up. This is one of those weeks that I think is like a plot-thickening week, but it's not necessarily going to be a week where all the action is happening.
Really, the only thing significant that could change this week is the positioning of the 3 people who are locked up in second place in the red division.
Yeah. So like I said, this isn't a week where you're going to see a ton of huge tiebreaker playoff implication type games, like not like the week where you saw Justin against Mike or BG against Devin, games with huge playoff implications. But these games are all vitally important, I think, to the teams that are still in it. So should be a fun one. We're going to lead off with my game versus Jared. Jared is in full-on free-fall mode right now. It seems like no matter what he does, he will find a way to lose at this point. But, short of striking a little bit of luck every now and again, I haven't been doing too much better. It really hurts that that 2/3 of my starting wide receiver talent is on a bye this week. And I'm still trying to work things out with my number 2 running back position. Jared, meanwhile, has a very scary team. Just at least on paper, he's got players that are capable of big games. Hopefully, though, if I'm going to have a week where I have a lot of my good players on a bye week, Jared did have that one breakout week where he scored 106, but other than that, the players you want to play on this kind of a week are Jared or Hedgie. So
yep,
I'm predicting myself to win this game.
Oh, absolutely. I could easily see Jared going 1-12 this season. I wouldn't be surprised to see him have another couple breakout games and win 3, but he has just had an abysmal season so far.
Yeah, if you just look at the points scored week by week, I should have the edge on Jared, but really I've learned to not trust my team under any circumstances at this point. So I'm nervously hoping for a desperation win out of my team. Justin seems a lot more confident than I do in my team. The next crappiest game on this schedule between Nathan and Hedgie and BG. Yeah, the bottom line is Aaron Rodgers is on a bye.
And BG does not have anybody else on his team. And obviously we're looking at the current projections here. It's projecting Hedgie to win. BG hasn't subbed in a new quarterback yet, but Hedgie is also playing Matt Hasselbeck currently rather than Eli Manning.
Which we would assume would change.
I could just absolutely really easily foresee Hedgie taking one for BG here.
Yeah, I actually am going to predict a loss for BG on this game. I think BG's going to slide into his longest losing streak of the season with a 2-game losing streak against teams with a combined 2-11 record. I think BG is in a lot of trouble, especially considering Aaron Rodgers is on a bye. Like I said, if I'm going to have a lot of players on a bye, I want to play Jared. BG's in the same boat. If he's going to have his best player on a bye, he wants to play Hedgie. Having said that, Hedgie still does have Eli Manning, Frank Gore, and Larry Fitzgerald as the base of his team. And he's got Miles Austin, who's a very dangerous wide receiver as well.
I mean, the one problem that Hedgie's going to run into here is the fact that unless he's making some moves on the waiver wire, the only person he has to fill in at the 3rd receiver spot there, since Antonio Holmes is on a bye, is Jeff King.
There's almost no hope there. Abandon hope, all ye who start Jeff King.
He should really consider, dropping King or Johnny Knox and picking up somebody decent on the waiver wire.
Yeah, I think you got played when Jesse offered or told you should pick up Johnny Knox there, Hedgie. BG at this point has nobody to start at quarterback. absolutely no one. Carson Palmer is on a bye. Aaron Rodgers is on a bye. He's going to have to surf the waivers for a starting quarterback at this point. Bottom line, I am projecting Hedgie to get his first win of the season and BG to really bust the Red Division wide open. Next game we're going to get into is Kevin versus Justin. The Cox at Commandos, as it states on ESPN here. Interesting decision, like we mentioned before, for Kevin on whether or not to take a gamble, dance with the girl who brung you, and keep Matt Stafford in there, despite the fact that he's injured and might not play, or if he just makes the smart or conventional move and goes with Matt Schaub. Problem with Kevin's team, though, is he really doesn't have a ton of options for the rest of his team.
He will be probably substituting in one of his 5 tight ends in order to fill that spot. And
Javid Best is still hurt, so if we're testing that, if Stafford and Best don't perform, Kevin doesn't perform, this could be another tough week for Kevin. The upside for Kevin is that Justin's team has been so decimated by injury. The Beanie Wells injury hurts you, so I mean, every single running back you've got has some sort of question mark next to him. So the other problem is not a single one of your running backs has a good matchup anyway. Even if they were all healthy, it'd be tough to play a matchup game with your running backs. I mean, Firm's going up against Pittsburgh, Cleveland against San Francisco, Beanie Wells and Arizona hitting up Baltimore. Even if he was healthy, that'd be a tough matchup. And Marshawn Lynch, real on again, off again type of guy going against Cincinnati. Very tough matchups. Even if everybody was healthy, I wouldn't really feel terribly happy with my matchup. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and tentatively, not very confidently, I wish I could, but I'm going to predict that Justin pulls some of his trademark, not sure how that happened, magic, and squeaks out with a win. Think you're going to win?
I think so, yes.
If you try to be objective about it, do you feel very confident coming into the game?
I'd say 70% chance that I win.
Pretty interesting little matchup here between Alan and Mike. Alan right now, he is 6-1, but I think he's got to be feeling the heat from Jesse with just Jesse's 3 straight 100-point games.
Mm-hmm.
Jesse looks like he's really picking up a head of steam, and Alan looks to be going in a general other way direction at this point. It was good to see, I think, for Alan, the best quarterback performance of the season for him out of Ben Roethlisberger last week, but Big Ben doesn't have a very good history against New England, so it'll be interesting to see how he performs against the Patriots.
I really think the most interesting thing about this matchup is what we're looking at in the running back situation for Mike here, because he's got DeMarco Murray, who's basically played one game, and we really don't know what we're going to see out of him on a week-to-week basis. And other than that, he's only got 2 other running backs on his team, Darren McFadden and LeGarrette Blount, who are both injured and both on a bye this week. So I'm curious to see who he's going to pick up to fill in that spot.
But Sean Green's also on a bye. Obviously,
he's going to be picking up someone on the waiver wire in order to fill in that spot. And believe me, I've been combing the waiver wire for running backs all season.
Yeah,
there is nobody there.
Slim pickings. I mean, obviously, you can't say there's nobody there. I mean, Mike just picked up DeMarco Murray last week and got 22 points out of him. But you got to be able to really dig deep and find
a pick like that 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah. I think the edge has to go narrowly to Allen. In the end, I think Mike's lack of running back depth will be his downfall.
Absolutely. I mean, I have a really difficult time foreseeing him picking up anybody on the waiver wire this week who's going to score more than 5 points at most in that position.
The unquestioned GOT dubs, definitely the most interesting game of this week, has to be between 2 of the core 4, Devin is going to match up against a very hot team in Jesse. If anybody's, well, I guess at normal strength, if anybody has enough to bring down Jesse, it would be Devin, but without Michael Turner, it should be a pretty interesting game for Devin on the running back front.
He's starting Jackie Battle right now.
Who is
not bad, but he's certainly not a top tier running back either. He can't compete with Jesse's running back core. I mean, Matt Forte's off this week, but Jesse still has Fred Jackson and Ryan Matthews starting.
I still am a fan of Devin's wide receiving core.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, Steve Smith, Calvin Johnson, Brandon Marshall. I don't think there's anyone, including Jesse, who would not like to have that as his starters.
Oh, absolutely.
That's not to say Jesse's unhappy with his wide receiving core, but you can't shake a stick at Devin's right now.
Calvin Johnson is just absolutely nuts. I mean,
Megatron is untouchable.
He's putting up ridiculous point totals every week, and it's just really tough for any opposing D-backs to compete with him.
Mm-hmm. He turns D-backs into D-bags.
That would not be an inappropriate thing to say.
I think the do I start Fitzpatrick, do I start Matt Ryan thing has been a real fun little thing, matchup game to watch Devin play. Yep. Devin is really as adept as any league member is at playing matchup games, at riding the hot hand, so it's interesting to see. It's been interesting to watch how he handles such a unique quarterback situation. Yeah, it's interesting that Cedric Benson's suspension really hurts Devin's plans for his bye week options, because I think Cedric Benson would be a great spot start at running back. But with Benson getting suspended, Tim Hightower going on to IR, all of a sudden Devin goes from really strong at backup running back to what the crap am I going to do? This is one of the only games this week where actually the lineups are probably fairly well set. What you see right now is probably the same that we'll see on Sunday. I don't foresee a lot of potential for changes. Actually, I don't foresee any potential for changes really looking at these benches. Who do you think is going to win this matchup?
Honestly, ESPN likes Devin. I think that Jesse's going to pull this one out. I feel like I have to give the edge to Jesse here just because of his strength at the first three positions.
I don't really care if Jesse wins or loses at this point. It's not of a ton of relevance to me. I think the direction his team is going, he's a lock for the playoffs. He's not going to be somebody I have a chance to knock out. So there's really no heartstrings involved. I think that Devin's wide receiving core is very strong. I think a factor that you might be forgetting a little bit is that Steve Smith is kind of a neutralizing factor for Cam Newton.
It's true.
Cam Newton, I'd say probably about 75% of his passing yards go to Steve Smith, and almost all of his passing touchdowns go to Steve Smith. I would not be surprised at all to be wrong, but I think Devin finds a way to win this game. I guess really we're projecting for, at the end of Week 8, to have a moderate shakeup in the standings on the red side, and not too much difference in the standings on the blue side. It would instead of a three-way tie for second, it would turn into a three-way tie for first with one team in second in the red. Still be pretty big logjam if that happens, but. Like I said, should be an interesting week. The plot will thicken no matter what.
I mean, it could actually absolutely turn into a four-way tie for first place in the red division.
Well, Justin, you came, you experienced life in the shack. And
you think anybody else will actually guest host this season?
I do, yeah. I predict at least one more. Most likely, I think I'll have 2 more guest hosts. I have high hopes to have at least 8 members.
Gas station commandos are the best.
Yeah. Everybody's welcome to step into the shack and see what it's like here. What do you think?
I had a good time.
All right, that's good. Yeah, definitely great to see everybody still hanging in there. Hope to see nobody give up hope. If Hedgie hasn't given up hope, none of you have any place giving up hope. So
Very true.
see you next week.